Hi guys, my name is Moshe Dov Khanin and I'm a life coach, and I wanted to share an idea with you that if you are currently working on yourself, specifically if you're working with somebody who's a coach or a therapist or a mentor, um, this idea will really take your work to the next level if you're not practicing it yet. So how did it begin? It began the first time that I was conscious of doing this practice was the last session that I was going to have with one of my coaches, JP Morgan. We had a year-long group coaching opportunity that I was committed to, and this was the last session that I was going to have after 2 years of working with him. And as I was preparing for the session, I designated about an hour to prepare for that session. The first thing I did is I set up a massive whiteboard and I sat down and I just asked myself, what do I want? What do I want to work with? And the first thing I did is I listened to all the voices that were available, like were right there on the surface, the things that I wanted in my life. In relationships, in physical wealth, in mental health, in spiritual wealth, in spiritual development, in physical, in all the different areas of life. Everything was just like right there on the surface. What do I want to work on? So instead of deciding what to work on, the first thing I did was I asked myself, what do I want? And I just listed all the things that came up until I felt like everything was heard. It was silent. I've written down everything I would possibly want to work on, and it was a full, massive whiteboard. Then I sat in silence for a while, and I wanted to see what else would come up. And I waited and waited and waited until a few words from somewhere deep within myself came up, and it was spiritual immersion. And I had, of course, an idea, an insight about what that meant and what that visual would look like. What a manifestation of that possibility would look like in my life. And the work was really that I did in the session was to work on that. And I already had a practice by then of trying to coach myself out of sessions. So if I have something I want to work on, I'll do my best to be prepared a half hour before sessions so that I have time to sit down by myself and kind of coach myself out of it. So like that, the time that I spend with my coach is just on a much higher level. So here is the idea once I've understood what happened and what made that practice so impactful. When your coach or your therapist asks you a question, or even if you are doing your own work and you ask yourself a question, there are generally 3 places of where the answer will come from. The first one is based on what is screaming the loudest. You come into a therapy or coaching session, and what do you want to work on today? And you're like, oh, okay, this problem with my wife, my kid today, and I got stuck in traffic. Whatever it is, it's the loudest and most present, and you're feeling the most intensity from. That is the first place to find an answer to the question of what do you want to work on today. The second place is if we take some time to really get present. Okay, let me breathe for a minute, let me meditate, and then we answer the question. We look inside. There's usually an inventory. It's almost like there's a whole bunch of shelves of items on the shelves. And it's like, ooh, okay, I've seen that item, okay, that item. I think today I'm going to work on that. That's something I really want to work on. That's the second place to look for the answer to the question of what do you want to work on today. The third place is, instead of going and looking in a place that there's already, the inventory is already there, take the question and ask yourself the question. Consider that within yourself, there is Like in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, there was the Urim V'Tumim. There was a place of which, you know, the Kohanim were able, or I think it was the Kohanim, the high priests were able to ask questions and they would get answers. So within ourselves, we also have something like that. And we ask ourselves the question, what would I love to work on today? What do I want to work on today? And don't try to find the answers. No effort, zero. Just ask the question and wait. Wait for an answer. Wait and wait and wait. Sometimes it can take up to 5 minutes. And sometimes even more, but rarely. What would I love to work on today? And wait for an answer. And then an answer comes from beyond, from somewhere deep, deep within. These are the 3 places of where you can find an answer to the question of what do you want to work today. And the truth is that it's not just that question of what do you want to work on today. It can be in other questions as well. What type of birthday party do I want to, how do I want to celebrate my birthday? And it could be like, ooh, I want that, this and that. And then it could be, ooh, okay, there's all these different meaningful ways that I could spend my birthday. And then there's like, okay, how would I love to celebrate my birthday? And then wait for an answer to come from somewhere deep within. I hope this was meaningful to you. And if you do practice this, which I sincerely hope that you do, please share with me your experience. I would really appreciate it. And if this conversation and this video was meaningful for you and you'd like to take this conversation further, please contact me and I would love to do that with you. All the best. Much love.